Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. Today we have the very special Our Recollections May Vary with me.
Hello.
Hi, Reki, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic. And it's funny, you said you have a video for them. The way we talk, it'll probably be two.
I, I know,
Before we're done,
I
it'll
know,
probably be two videos.
I know, it probably will be. I just wanted to catch up with you, and it's been a little, it's been a little while, so it's
Yeah.
time for a catch up. And I want to catch up with because you've been doing some really, I really love your series on the Markle Foundation. So I wanted to ask you about that. And
Yeah.
I've been sort of working on, there's a few things that have come into my spectrum, like the book 1984. There's a couple of things, and now
Mhm.
Wallace Simpson. So I'm trying to sort of, I'm taking my time to sort of meditate on it and try and work out how that all, how that all correlates. Because to me, it's sending me messages that I need to sort of pay attention to.
Yes. And,
Yeah.
really, the 1984, that is the thing that's really sticking with me too. And it has been since, I kind of put some of the connections with what the Royal Grift has done with the censorship industrial complex.
Mm-hmm.
And when you look at that and you see because in the book 1984, in case people haven't read it, when the book opens, you are in the world. You are in the the way to get to that world has already happened. So it
Yes.
doesn't show you a lot about how it happened.
Yes, exactly.
And when I was listening to the Royal Grift and her talks about the censorship industrial complex, that's what I kept coming to. I kept coming to, this is how 1984 could happen.
Yes.
This is the steps to get there.
Yes.
And that's what stuck with me.
And for me, I just wanted to clarify for for people listening, because sometimes I think I sound like I'm saying that someone back in the 1980s sat there with the book and wrote a script and said, this is what we must do in the United Nations. And so what I'm saying is that it's not exactly the book 1980. Like we're not moving in exactly the same realm, like the same way. It's just that I think we need to pay attention to that book and the messages of that book. Because I think you made me realize that when you said to me that it was a it was a dystopian socialist, and that we're coming from a capitalist kind of, and I thought, yes, that's right. You are right.
Because when, at least me, I read the book, I believe it was in 1988 that I read. No, I read the book in 1984. That was the thing. I was in middle school, and that was the thing. It was like, we're going to read 1984 in 1984. But that was at the height of Cold War. I was living in the U.S. It's the Cold War. We saw 1984 as, this is what the communists are, quote unquote, doing. Right?
Yes.
So the way I grew into it was that these are the bad guys. This is what communism does. This is what Animal Farm, where you have, Lenin and Trotsky and all that stuff as the different people in Animal Farm. Orwell was writing about Russia. That was always the connotations that we got. But it wasn't until I was much older and did more research into it that I realized, no, Orwell was never writing about a communist nation. No. He was writing about a capitalist nation that went wrong.
Yes.
And that's exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very interesting. And then, things happen in my brain, recollections, that what ends up happening, I sort of think about things and daydream and then little things come popping into my mind. And then I thought, and this is purely my, my intuitive speak, is that
don't say that. That's like truth speak. Don't say You can't do that.
Yeah.
And for
Oh my.
people who haven't read 1984, the reason I'm saying that is because like that becomes the language of,
Yeah.
political speak, thought speak, like everything, every term had speak at the end
Yeah.
because that was the way they were programming people.
And another thing, it's really strange. Last night, Recollections and I were having a little chat on Twitter, and I was finishing up at work and trying to chat and trying to do my work, finishing off, and an 80s radio station playing in my office, like,
Mhm.
and the song 1984 came up. What's the band's name?
Oh, I don't know. I'm bad with the bands. I'm bad with bands. I
Yes,
can never do it. That's why
Annie
I can't
Lennox.
do
Annie
Grumpy Sappers.
Lennox.
Yes. That's why I
And
can't do Grumpy Sappers. Grumpy Sapper does a thing on Sundays, if you're ever there, where he changes the tunes. So it's the same
oh,
song, but he like uses it into like a, synthesizer or whatever, so that you can't
oh,
recognize the tune
yes,
and you
yes,
have to
yes.
name the band and the song. And I never can get a single
Oh,
one because I
oh,
can't do it.
it's the Eurythmics and Annie
Right.
and Annie Lennox. Anyway, as I'm singing along, I was typing to you, doing my, and then I went, oh my gosh, sex crime, like the
Hmm.
songs. And do you know, after all these years, like 40 years, whatever it is, like it's like I just clicked sex crime, like thought crime,
Yep.
because. And I went, oh my goodness! I didn't realize that, but listening to it, I went, oh, it's a sex crime. Now I
Mm.
get it. Yep.
Yep.
Um.
So
So
intuitive speak. Your
yes,
intuitive speak.
yes, intuitive. Like, so, I'm kind of thinking. I was thinking to myself, you know what you need to do, Jam? We need to do, because I watched your video. I really, you did a video on 1984 as well, which was really fantastic.
Oh,
And
thank
I
you.
and I went, wow, like, us twins. we yeah, no, but it was really important. And I was thinking, I need to learn a little bit more about George Orwell, because he
Mhm.
must, like, his mind, like, and what was going on around him to write the book
Yeah.
1984, because it's really interesting. And then I thought, sitting there in the car driving, because he created this character called Big Brother. I mean, it could be an organization, but
Yeah.
it's also, I was thinking, I need to find out, was Big Brother actually a person?
Mm.
Is it
I
the name for the party, or was there actually a hidden Big Brother in this, in that story?
If you want my opinion,
Mm,
remember he was working. He came up with it in the 40s, 1940s,
yes,
and that's when you're starting to see the rise of those intelligence agencies. Whether
yes,
you
yes, yes,
KGB,
yes,
CIA,
yep,
things like that. I mean, they weren't there yet, but they were coming into fruition, and I think that's what he intended from them.
right,
That's my opinion.
yep,
I could be
yep.
wrong. I mean,
I
that's
can
just
see that,
completely,
yep.
But and you brought it up in your video about 1984 about the book. The Oceania, which is where it all takes place, it was supposed to be the US and the UK. It was not supposed to be Russia. And that's the thing that a lot of people miss. It's that this was the world that was not taken over by communists. This is the
Yes.
world that evolved to fight it.
Yes, that's right. The other interesting thing, because I from the book, I actually I was looking online, and I found the map, of what those
Right.
three superpowers look like.
Right.
And when I saw that Australia and New Zealand and Canada and all of South
Right.
America, and then I thought, and as I was reading it then on Wikipedia, so the actual nation, or the continent of whatever, of Oceania, is actually the USA, the UK, but it's actually the USA and the Commonwealth become.
I'm pulling it up for myself right now because I want to look
Yeah,
at it while you're saying
because
this.
there actually is, like, half of the south tip of Africa is part of Oceania. So it's South Africa and some of the other Commonwealth nations in that area. it's the British Isles, like the United Kingdom, and then it's Canada. Like so, then Canada, the United States, and for some reason, all of South America becomes part of Oceania.
Yes. Yes, and why is there like that non-attributed places? The places like in Africa that they were just forgotten. Disputed. I'm looking at the map. I'm looking at the map that I see shows all of Oceania. It shows Eurasian. It shows the People's Federation of East Asia, and then it's got like a lot of gray areas. And now I see.
That's right. The areas. North of Africa. Yes.
Yes.
So it's kind of interesting. The reason I brought that up was because as I was kind of talking to myself and sort of playing with words, I was thinking about this because I also watch Coffee with Craig. He's a psychic that has done predictions, and I watched him for last year and the year before, and then. One of the things that he keeps talking about, he spoke about Trump. He said that Trump would win, but he mentioned that there may be an attempt on his life. So everything that he spoke about, I was like, wow, that's really amazing. So I wanted to see what he says about 2025. But he keeps coming back to this, the thoughts are now, what's going to happen with Canada, the United States. Trump, in his speech, Trump was talking about, taking back the Panama Canal. So there's so it's really interesting. And I was going, whoa, this is really, really interesting, especially the Canada. It may not happen in our lifetime, but obviously there's thinking about it, like, Canada and so I was thinking about Oceania. So then I thought, what about if Big Brother was a person? Then it made me realize that photograph of, Trump and William in Paris talking. And immediately I saw like a headline. I think I made one up to show you. And I immediately saw a headline in my vision of, it's the heads of Oceania meeting for the very first time. And I thought, so is Big Brother, and I'm not saying it was not a plan, like I'm not saying they planned it, but to me, intuitively, what is the universe saying that Harry's big brother met Trump? Because I have a feeling as time evolves, as we go through time, that we will start to see changes in the monarchy and the way the monarchy work, the way they make money and the way that I think their positions, they will actually change at them. So they will start the change. And I think they're going to move. Maybe they don't like the soft power that they have, but I've got a funny feeling that there's something cooking in the background. And that could mean that one day when maybe we're not here, that, it could be the role that George plays in the world.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, the only monarch that really had no true power was Queen Elizabeth, because her father and her grandfather, even though it was at the time a constitutional monarchy, they actually had some power. I mean, George V had power. I mean, he was still king.
Yeah.
It was only under Elizabeth II that it really became a symbolic role as opposed to a role with any kind of power. So now Charles, he's not going to be king very long, no matter how you look at it, because of his age,
Yeah, exactly.
So he's not going to be there long. But then you're going to ask a grown, intelligent, capable man, William, to do nothing but be a figurehead. That's all he's going to do. Like, as a person, you could see where that might be unfulfilling, as in terms of, I mean, his job is to go out and wave.
Yeah.
There could be that kind of frustration and, I'm really not doing anything.
Yeah.
And how does he make that evolve? not really for himself, because it's probably, like you just said, it's probably not going to necessarily change for William, but what about for George?
Yes, for George. Look, I do think there is something I feel in the background happening, and it's to do with their finances. I think I think the fact that no one's done anything about Andrew is, to me, a sign that something is happening in that organisation. I'm not going to call it the family. I'm going to call it the organisation.
Right.
And it's to do with the way they make money and the way, obviously, they get it from, the Duchy of Cornwall, etc.
Right.
But I think there's more to it. I think, and this leads me to think about places like the United States, other countries. If we end up like how Nostradamus predicted that we'd have 1,000 years of peace, that conjures up imagine a world where there's no conflicts, etc., and everyone's living in peace. Well, the first question in Jam's mind is, well, how do all these huge global organizations make money if there's no war? So
the single unifying factor in any civilization is the ability to cause war, to declare war.
So if everyone is getting on, and people the elites start to think, oh well, we can't really make any more wars, because if that's the case, if that's the conversation, then automatically, as I said that, I pictured the Ukraine, and it's it was a manufactured war.
Yeah.
It was done because there's obviously really big people out there that need to make money, and we haven't had a war for a while, so we need a war. So what do? Let's run some tanks up and down the border of the Ukraine. There was no reason to even do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why are you going to poke the bear for?
And my real life job, I don't want to give too much away, but my real life job, I deal with people in the Ukraine. And let me tell you, the majority of them aren't worried about a war. They aren't worried. The things that I know for a fact right now, the people of Ukraine are worried about have nothing to do with war, have nothing to do with famine, have nothing to do with living in a combat zone. I work in retail, and they're worried about their clothes. All right? So you cannot tell me that is a war zone.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
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 Because they're not worried about their Ralph Lauren polos if they are in a war zone.
Yeah. I understand. Yeah. That's true.
So that alone tells me that there's some wag the dog going on.
Yeah, absolutely. So so this is a very, I do need to do I need to learn a little bit. George Orwell now really interests me. I need to find out a little bit more about him. Very interesting man.
I might actually, since we've been talking, I might do I did a video on The Wizard of Oz, which The Wizard of Oz is actually a political allegory. It's the story of populism in the United States. And, things like, the Wicked Witch of the West was actually big business, and the wizard was the president of the United States. There's a whole big thing.
Yeah.
Well, Animal Farm is also a political allegory. I might do that one. Yeah, I might do a video on that.
I'd love that. Yeah, that'd be fantastic. Yes,
actually, these are stories that people know. They know the stories, but they don't know what's really behind the story. That there's so much to learn from those stories.
Yes. Absolutely. And it's interesting, from another aspect of mine, from very early videos that I had done, I kept questioning. I was going, wow, it feels like this story about Shapey and the rat bag, it feels like they're part of a story. And it's funny now that these stories, there was a time that, because as a child, I absolutely, I was in love with Star Wars, but I'd seen a doco about how George Lucas, when they were writing the script, and he he invited a couple, an elderly couple who were very famous in Hollywood. They were famous writers. They'd written a lot of screenplays. But a lot of the characters in Star Wars were actually written by them. They were actually characters like Princess Leia was a character, and I can't remember their names. But yes, but that was very interesting. And I went, wow. And George Lucas also got heavily inspired by Frank Herbert, who wrote Dune. And I went, wow, like, you know, that story, they're so similar. And I was going, so then, you know, that led me to the whole Princess Leia, you know, shapeshifter kind of. I know that I'm not saying that she copied, but for me, like the sign to me was that there were similarities in this modern princess and what she was trying to do, what George Lucas was trying to do with Princess Leia. Because that's often what people will contact me and they go, Jam, it's amazing, but do you really think that she's that clever to do that? And I thought, no, she's not.
She's not. But other people are.
Yeah. And so, which will lead me now to things that are popping up in my brain about Wallace Simpson. And I have done a video on, you know, the similarities between Wallace Simpson and Shapey. And they're often, the reason that we're drawn to it is because Shapey went out of her way to make herself look like Wallace Simpson and communicate Wallace Simpson. And as we know, well, I believe she was doing that at a time, she was doing it for Prince Philip. And but as soon as the Queen passed, she stopped doing it. So that's very interesting. But again, you know, when we talk about Wallace Simpson, I think, look, Shapey's not dumb. She's not stupid.
No.
She might be lazy, but she's not stupid. But
she's not intelligent, but she's not stupid.
That's right. But is she clever enough? And this is what really, it's making my skin crawl. Is she clever enough to do this whole Wallace Simpson project? Like, that would mean that she had studied Wallace Simpson.
That's the key. And we know she doesn't study because she's lazy.
Yes. But if someone said, you know what, Jam, our recollections may vary, was working with her, and like our recollections, you know, she knows all, you know, she's really a fantastic history researcher. And I would go, yes, that makes sense, because recollections knows her stuff. And like she knows, you know, she would have gone through Wallace Simpson with a fine-tooth comb. And that's the thing.
Oh my gosh.